Welcome to the YouTube channel Moments. This is where we explore dramatic moments and plane crashes caught on camera. If you are an aviation enthusiast, love thrilling stories, and want to learn more about the lessons from aviation accidents, then our channel is the place for you. Click the subscribe button and click the bell icon to not miss any new videos. On the channel, we will bring you real footage recorded from passenger and crew cameras, interviews with aviation experts, valuable lessons about aviation safety so you can learn from experience and better understand this field. Welcome to the program, Air Disaster. Today we will experience the tense and dramatic moments of one of the most terrifying aviation accidents in the history of world aviation, the crash of British Air Tours Flight 28M. On August 22, 1985, British Air Tours Flight 28M, a Boeing 737-236 Advanced, was preparing to take off from Manchester Airport to Corfu Island, Greece. There were 137 people on board, including 131 passengers and 6 crew members. As the plane was preparing to leave the runway, a nightmare began. The right engine suddenly caught fire, and the fierce fire quickly spread into the passenger cabin. Thick black smoke and high temperatures caused panic. The escape system did not work effectively, making evacuation extremely difficult. The tragic aftermath. The tragic outcome was that 55 people died from inhaling toxic fumes and were trapped inside the plane. There were desperate cries for help, tears streaming down the faces of the survivors. In total, 82 people were lucky to survive, but many of them suffered serious injuries. Welcome to the Emergency Bulletin. On August 19, 1989, United Airlines Flight 232 suffered a catastrophic accident over Iowa. A McDonnell Douglas DC-10, departing from Denver, Colorado, bound for Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, suffered a catastrophic failure of engine number 2, causing the aircraft to lose all hydraulic power. With great calm and skill, Captain Al Haynes and his crew managed to control the aircraft by adjusting the thrust of the remaining engines only. The aircraft attempted an emergency landing at Sioux Gateway Airport, but unfortunately lost control, flipped over, and burst into flames. Of the 296 people on board, 111 were killed, but miraculously, 185 survived. The heroic response of the crew was widely praised, and the accident prompted many important improvements in aviation safety. The crash of Flight 232 is a clear testament to the courage and skill of the crew in an emergency. We will continue to update you with details in future newsletters. I'm Adam. Goodbye, and see you soon. Welcome to Air Disasters. Today we will explore one of the most tragic aviation accidents in history, Alaska Airlines Flight 261. On January 31, 2000, Alaska Airlines Flight 261, a McDonnell Douglas MD-83, took off from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, bound for Seattle, Washington, with a scheduled stop in San Francisco. There were a total of 88 people on board, including 83 passengers and 5 crew members. While the plane was flying at an altitude of 31,000 feet above the Pacific Ocean, near Anacapa Island, California, an unexpected incident occurred. The horizontal tail control system failed, causing the pilot to lose control of the plane's altitude. In that life-or-death moment, the crew made every effort to control the plane back to Los Angeles Airport for an emergency landing. But all efforts were in vain. The plane began to plunge into the sea. The entire plane lost control and plummeted into the Pacific Ocean, killing all 88 people on board. The wreckage of the plane was found in the sea near Anacapa Island, bringing with it heartbreaking stories and tears. The U.S. National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, conducted a comprehensive investigation. The conclusion showed that the main cause was a maintenance problem. Lack of lubrication leading to failure of the horizontal tail control device, along with the lack of proper periodic inspection and maintenance, led to this disaster.
The plane shattered on impact.
Japan Airlines Flight 123 is one of the worst aviation disasters in history. Here are some key facts about the crash. The 1978 tail strike incident involving Japan Airlines Flight 123 played a major role in the 1985 tragedy. Here are the details of the incident. The incident occurred in 1978. On June 2, 1978, a Boeing 747 SR-46 aircraft suffered a tail strike while landing at Osaka Airport. The impact caused severe damage to the tail section of the aircraft. After the incident, the tail section of the aircraft was repaired in Japan. However, the repair did not follow Boeing's strict technical standards. Instead of using a single continuous metal plate, panels were joined together, which weakened the structure of the tail section. The 1985 accident was caused by the fact that this improper repair caused the gradual weakening of the tail section. Finally, on August 12, 1985, the aircraft's tail section separated while the aircraft was in flight, resulting in loss of cabin pressure and control failure. Japan Airlines Flight 123 is one of the worst aviation disasters in history. Here are some key facts about the crash. Date of crash, August 12, 1985. Aircraft, Boeing 747 SR-46. Itinerary, flight from Haneda Airport in Tokyo to Osaka International Airport. Occupants, 524, 509 passengers, and 15 crew members. Cause, the crash was caused by a mechanical failure involving the tail section of the plane. Specifically, an explosion caused by a previous incident in 1978 had not been properly repaired. The tail section of the plane had separated, causing a loss of pressure control and failure of the aircraft's control system. Flight incident. After losing control, the crew struggled to control the plane for more than 30 minutes before it crashed into Mount Takamagahara near the town of Ueno, Gunma Prefecture. Result, 520 people were killed and only 4 survived. This is the deadliest aviation accident involving a single aircraft. The accident shocked the aviation industry and led to major changes in aircraft maintenance and inspection procedures. For more information, you can search for more information from reliable sources or historical documents about this accident. Hello, my name is Adam, and today we're going to explore one of the most remarkable air disasters in rock history. The crash of the Convair 240 carrying the band Lynyrd Skynyrd on October 20th, 1977. This is the tragic story of a fateful flight and an immeasurable loss in the music industry. October 20th, 1977 began as a normal day in the eventful life of Lynyrd Skynyrd. The band and their support crew were preparing to leave Greenville, South Carolina for Baton Rouge, Louisiana for the next show on their tour. The Convair CV-240, a twin-engine aircraft, was being readied for the trip. But no one could have predicted that this would be the last flight for some of the band members. The plane began the flight with insufficient fuel reserves and poor fuel management, which led to a catastrophic engine failure mid-flight. When the pilots realized the plane was running out of fuel, they attempted an emergency landing. As the plane hurtled toward a swampy forest near Gillsburg, Mississippi, everyone on board held their breath. The final moments were tense and chaotic as they prepared for an emergency landing in dangerous conditions. The crash claimed the lives of 6 people, including some who were very important to the band and their fans. Ronnie Van Zant, lead singer of Lynyrd Skynyrd, Steve Gaines, guitarist and backing vocalist Cassie Gaines, Dean Kilpatrick, the band's tour manager, along with pilot Walter McCreary and co-pilot William Gray, all died. The investigation determined that the primary cause of the accident was fuel exhaustion and the crew's poor decision-making in fuel management. There were also other contributing factors such as inadequate flight planning and lack of maintenance. This accident has become a valuable lesson in the aviation industry. The crash of the Convair 240 of the band Lynyrd Skynyrd was a tragic event in music history, emphasizing the importance of strict adherence to regulations and procedures in the aviation industry to ensure safety. This story is not only about loss, but also about the resilience and spirit of those who survived and continued their musical journey. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel to enjoy more good videos. I'm Adam. See you in the next stories. Ethiopian Airlines Flight 409 was a notable aviation accident that occurred on January 25, 2010. Here are the details of the accident. Flight details, date of crash, January 25, 2010. Aircraft, Boeing 737-8AS. Airline, Ethiopian Airlines. Flight 409 was en route from Beirut Rafik Hariri International Airport, Lebanon, to Bole International Airport, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Cause of crash, bad weather. At the time of takeoff, the Beirut area was experiencing bad weather conditions with heavy rain and lightning. Loss of control. The plane took off at 2:35 a.m. local time. Minutes after takeoff, the plane began to experience difficulties. The pilot notified air traffic control of the incident. Later investigation reports indicated that the pilot suffered spatial disorientation due to weather conditions and may have made erroneous maneuvers in an attempt to regain control of the aircraft. Pilot error. About 5 minutes after takeoff, Flight 409 lost contact with air traffic control and crashed into the Mediterranean Sea, about 3.5 kilometers, 2.2 mi, off the coast of Lebanon. Aftermath: number of people on board, 90, 83 passengers and 7 crew members. Number of fatalities: all 90 people on board were killed. Rescue operations. Rescue operations were launched immediately after the crash, but no survivors were found. The wreckage and debris were found about 45 meters, 150 feet, below sea level. Investigation report. Investigative agencies from Lebanon, Ethiopia, and international experts investigated the crash. The final report, released in July 2012, found that the primary cause was a loss of control of the pilot's airspace in poor weather conditions. The investigation report made numerous recommendations for improving pilot training and management in poor weather conditions. Memorial services were held in Ethiopia and Lebanon to remember the victims of Flight 409. The crash prompted airlines and aviation regulators to review and improve flight safety procedures, especially in poor weather conditions. The crash of Ethiopian Airlines Flight 409 is a reminder of the importance of thorough pilot training and strict flight safety measures. At Sheremetyevo Airport on May 5, 2019, it was a day that will never be forgotten when Aeroflot Flight 1492, operated by the Sukhoi Superjet 195B, suffered a catastrophic accident. The plane had been struck by lightning shortly after leaving the ground. The pilot requested permission to return for an emergency landing. Anxiety increased as the plane approached the runway at a higher speed than expected. The plane hit the ground for the first time and bounced into the air again. The second touchdown was extremely hard. The landing gear collapsed. Sparks flew from the ruptured fuel tank. From the air traffic control station, the controller saw the fire spread to the back of the plane. Thick, black smoke covered it. The plane slid down the runway, leaving a long trail of fire from the spilled fuel. The fire broke out, engulfing the rear of the plane. Screams for help and thick black smoke billowed from the tail of the plane. A sense of helplessness pervaded the fire engines dispatched to the scene. Panicked passengers exit the plane through the front door, many carrying luggage. Sound, sirens, passengers screaming, raging fire. Some passengers jostle for luggage, hindering the evacuation process. Passengers were in utter panic. Flight attendants tried to evacuate passengers as quickly as possible. The fire was getting worse and worse, engulfing the entire tail of the plane. Fire trucks had not yet reached the fire. The entire crew was racing against time to help passengers get to safety. They were brave in facing the disaster. Oh my God, it was unbelievable. What a terrible disaster. Some passengers quickly escaped, but there were still many passengers trapped and unable to escape. What will be their fate? The flight attendant was still trying to contact headquarters to inform them of the current situation and ask for help from the airport. From the camera angles, we could clearly see the condition of the plane and the crew. Everything was terrible. They were waiting for the fire department to arrive at the scene quickly to continue the rescue. Finally, the fire truck reached the fire. At this time, black smoke had covered the entire plane. There were many people still trapped inside. The crew had to escape through the plane's glass door, and more smoke was coming out. The alarm sounded loudly. Fire trucks and ambulances quickly arrived at the scene. Firefighters sprayed water to extinguish the fire. Rescue workers immediately appeared to give first aid to the victims. Passengers were still being evacuated. Black smoke covered the entire plane cabin. A terrifying scene that seemed like it only happened in blockbuster action movies. But in reality, it was taking place at Moscow's Sheremetyevo Airport. Some passengers panicked and jostled each other to get their luggage, making rescue work difficult because the fire spread very quickly and was not under control. The crash was widely documented, with videos showing the horrific evacuation, with some passengers seen carrying luggage, which likely hampered the evacuation and contributed to the deaths. The fire is completely extinguished. The rear of the plane is completely burned. Sound. Fire sirens fading away. The sound of another plane's engine on the runway. Investigators at the scene are collecting evidence. The surviving passengers are receiving medical care. Unfortunately, 41 of the 78 passengers and crew on board were killed in the incident. Investigations have shown that the hard landing and subsequent fire were significant factors in the tragedy. The Aeroflot Flight 593 crash occurred on March 23, 1994. It was a tragic accident involving an Airbus A310-304 operated by the Russian airline Aeroflot. Crash details. Flight, Aeroflot Flight 593. Aircraft type, Airbus A310-304. Date of occurrence, March 23, 1994. Location, Siberia, Russia. Occupancy, 75, 63 passengers and 12 crew members. Deaths, all 75 people on board died. Cause of crash. The primary cause of the crash was determined to be human error. Specifically, while the plane was flying on autopilot, the pilot let his 15-year-old son sit in the captain's seat and manipulate the plane's controls. When the boy accidentally moved the control stick, the autopilot system was partially disabled without the crew realizing it. This led to the plane tilting sharply and losing control, eventually crashing into the ground at high speed. Consequences. The accident resulted in the death of all passengers and crew. The incident caused a stir and led to stricter checks on safety procedures in the aviation industry, as well as crew training to ensure that similar incidents do not occur in the future. The Aeroflot 593 accident is a prime example of the importance of strictly adhering to aviation safety rules. U.S. Airways Airbus A320-214 prepares to take off from LaGuardia Airport. The sky over New York is a clear blue morning, cloudless. Inside the plane, passengers settling into their seats, the hum of conversation, flight attendants giving safety instructions. Passenger 1, John's account. It was a morning like any other. I was reading the newspaper, not suspecting that my life was about to change forever. The plane took off, flying into the blue sky. Life was still calm and peaceful. The passengers thought about a smooth journey. Suddenly, a flock of Canada geese appeared and collided with the plane. Inside the cockpit, Captain Sully and First Officer Skiles were surprised when the engines stopped working. It seemed like something had happened to them. Captain Sully's account. We heard a loud noise, and immediately after that, both engines lost thrust. I knew we were in serious trouble. The captain and co-pilot were trying to find out the cause and fix the problem. Passengers sensed something was wrong when they saw the plane shaking. The flight attendants have left their positions and are moving to the passenger compartment. Passengers are advised to take their seats. The captain flew the plane into the city towards the Hudson River. God, it was too risky. He thought of a plan. I wonder if it was possible to save a flight with 155 lives. The situation became worse when the plane's electrical system was affected and the entire passenger cabin was dark. Passengers felt anxious and worried and began to think about the bad things that were about to happen. The flight attendants were trying to reassure the passengers. They said everything would be fine, nothing would happen, the captain would handle it. Inside the cockpit, Sully and Skiles checked the instruments, trying to restart the engines, but to no avail. They contacted air traffic control, reporting the emergency. First Officer Skiles' account. We couldn't return to LaGuardia or fly to Teterboro. Everything happened so fast, and we knew we had to make a decision right away. The captain told air traffic control that he would fly the plane over the city toward the Hudson River. Inside the building, some people noticed the strange plane. They didn't understand what was happening. Sully announces the decision to land on the Hudson River. Inside the plane, passengers panic, but flight attendants stay calm, instructing passengers to prepare for an emergency. A passenger recounts, "I heard the captain over the loudspeaker announcing that we were going to make an emergency landing. I took out my phone and texted my family to tell them this was terrible, and I might never see them again." The plane glides over the skyscrapers of New York, heading towards the Hudson River. The plane descends over the river. Passengers are screaming in panic. The crew reminds the passengers to prepare for an emergency landing on the river. Everyone is praying that everything will be safe. Passengers waiting for the terrifying moment to happen. The rescue team was alerted to be ready for an emergency rescue on the river. The rescue boats also left their moorings to prepare for the rescue. The plane hit the water, sliding down the Hudson River. The splashing water created a majestic and dramatic scene. Passenger 3, Mark's account. "When the plane hit the water, I felt the strength and skill of the crew. We were gliding across the water, and I knew we were lucky to have Sully at the controls. Everything happened like a blockbuster action movie. The hero Sully did a great job. God bless them all." Rescue ships and nearby boats quickly approached the plane. Passengers and crew were evacuated to the rescue ships. Inside the plane, flight attendants helped passengers leave the plane. Water started to flood into the plane, but everyone remained calm. Passenger 4, Sarah's account. "I couldn't believe we all survived. The rescue ships arrived so quickly and everyone was amazingly supportive." Captain Sully's account. "I just did what I thought was best to protect my passengers and crew. That's my responsibility as a captain." Sully and his crew were hailed as heroes. Passengers and their families expressed their gratitude. Passenger 1's account, John. "Sully saved our lives. He was not only a good pilot." The plane crash into a building in Amsterdam occurred on February 4, 1992. The plane was an El Al Boeing 747, flying from Tel Aviv to Amsterdam. The accident occurred when the plane encountered problems during landing and collided with an apartment building in the area near Schiphol Airport. The collision caused a large fire and killed many people, both on the plane and in the building. A total of 43 people died, including passengers and crew of the plane, as well as residents of the building. The cause of the accident was determined to be a technical failure and adverse weather conditions. The incident led to increased aviation safety measures as well as improved air traffic management procedures at airports. The specific causes of the El Al plane crash into an apartment building in Amsterdam on February 4, 1992 include technical failure. The Boeing 747 had a problem with one of its engines. During landing, the left engine shut down and the pilot was unable to restore the power needed to control the aircraft. Weather conditions. At the time, the weather conditions were unfavorable, with thick fog and limited visibility. This affected the ability to control the aircraft during landing. Air traffic management. There were factors related to air traffic management and coordination between the pilot and air traffic control. Some information suggests that there may have been confusion in communication between the pilot and the control center. Emergency situation. The screen showed an image of an El Al Boeing 747 cargo plane flying across the sky with the sound of the engines roaring in the air. In the cockpit, the pilots are concentrating on monitoring the instruments. The captain, anxiously, "We have a problem with engines 3 and 4. Emergency warning. Prepare to return to Schiphol." The plane begins to shake. The passengers can clearly feel the vibration. The engine noise gets louder. The sound of metal colliding is heard from the damaged engine. The passengers begin to worry. Some unbuckle their seatbelts, turning their heads to look around with fear. The first officer, nervous. "Engine number 4 is gone. We only have 2 engines left." The plane lurches to one side, starting to lose altitude rapidly. The passengers scream in panic. Some start to recite prayers. The screen showed the plane starting to spin sideways, heading towards the residential area below. The crew tried to control the plane, but all efforts seemed hopeless. A loud alarm sounded in the cockpit. The plane crashed straight into 2 apartment buildings. A loud explosion rang out. Flames erupted. Debris flew everywhere. Thick black smoke rose, covering the sky. Images of the chaotic accident scene, with flames blazing and black smoke covering the entire area. The sirens of fire trucks and ambulances rang out throughout the area. Firefighters quickly deployed ladder trucks, pumping water directly into the fire spots. Rescue workers in gas masks rushed into the fire to search for survivors. Images of the accident site with buildings completely destroyed. Rescuers continue to search for victims among the rubble. Thank you for watching the video. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to the channel so that I have more motivation to produce more quality videos. Please leave a comment to get any questions answered.